came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Well, hello there, everyday Americans. Sorry for those who were hanging out. I don't know if anybody's going to catch this. Facebook decided to trash my live stream scheduled video. So I started my broadcast, and all of a sudden it decided, no, we're going to delete it on you. I don't know, call it a conspiracy theory or just call it crazy foolishness. Anywho, I figure I'd give this another try. We'll see how things go. I don't expect a lot of people to watch, but hopefully you'll catch the recording when we come back. Again, this is Paul Engel, the Constitution Study, where we read and study the Constitution, teach the rising generation to be free. I want to thank everybody that helps make this possible, everybody who shares these messages. Most of all, if you've hung out for all of this, I want to thank you for still being around. You know, sometimes technology is just a lot of fun. So with that, how about we just jump right in, and I want to talk about impeachment. There's been a lot of discussion lately about impeaching the president and even impeaching Justice Kavanaugh. So I thought it'd be a really good time to sit down and have a rational discussion of the actual impeachment process from a constitutional point of view. And the focus lately has been on impeaching the president. And yes, Justice Kavanaugh got brought up, but seems to be most of the focus is on the president. But we really do need to remember a couple things about the impeachment process. The first is, why do we have an impeachment process? Well, Article 2, Section 4 says, the president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States. Stop right there. All civil officers. Everybody. That means everybody in the executive branch, everybody in the judicial branch. Remember Article 3, judges serve during good behavior. But believe it or not, everybody in the legislative branch can technically be impeached. Why aren't they? Because impeachment is harder than the process they already have. Each house can discipline its own members. So, you know, if the House wants to get rid of a House member, they can do it internally. They don't have to go through the Senate like they would with an impeachment, right? So this is for all civil officers of the United States. And they say they shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of. Time again. Again, impeachment does not mean removal from office. Impeachment is basically being charged with a problem, an offense that needs to be convicted. Now, you're going to be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Now, treason makes a lot of sense. We know what treason is. And bribery makes a lot of sense. We probably know what bribery is. High crimes and misdemeanors. This is a term that's often thrown around not quite accurately. Some people refer to felonies and misdemeanors because that's the way our judicial system is set up. At least the justice system is supposed to be set up. I've heard people describe high crimes, high meaning from a high office, but there is an actual easy definition for a misdemeanor. What is a misdemeanor? A misdemeanor means I have to have my right spot so I can push the right button. There we go. Whoops. Misdemeanor. Noun. Ill behavior, evil conduct, fault, mismanagement. See, in law, an offense of less atrocious nature than a crime. Crimes and misdemeanors are mere synonymous terms, but in common usage, the word crime is made to denote offenses of a deeper or more atrocious dye, while small faults and omissions of less consequence are comprised under the gentler name of misdemeanor. See, today, you can be charged with a felony or a misdemeanor. Those are both crimes. There are different levels of crimes, but a misdemeanor truly is bad behavior, evil conduct, mismanagement. Right? Now, it's quite unfortunate that over the last several decades, I've observed the impeachment process, more often the threat of impeachment, is less about removing the bad or incompetent officials, the people who are behaving badly, who are mismanaging or at fault for what they are doing. it's become more about political payback. So let's talk a little bit about the impeachment process. Impeachment of any federal officer is a two-step process. First, the House of Representatives must impeach the person. Second, the Senate must try the impeachment. Now, although impeachment is not a criminal process, it is very similar to what a citizen would go through if they found themselves charged with a crime. For example, Article 5 says, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. In other words, if the prosecutor wants to charge you with a felony, a serious crime, or a capital offense, they can't do that without a grand jury. What is a grand jury? It is a jury of citizens. It's people. It's the regular citizens of the nation sitting and saying, is this truly worth indicting a person for? Notice you see presentment or indictment. Now, we're all familiar with an indictment, right? You get charged with a crime, you go to the grand jury, the jury says, yes, this should go to trial. We're going to indict you for these crimes. Do you know what a presentment is? A presentment is when the grand jury finds that the charges the prosecutors brought are malicious. Not simply not warranting indictment, but actually malicious. And it's actually a mark against the prosecutor. Now, if you're charged with a serious crime, that first step is the grand jury. Similarly, if they want to get rid of the president or any government official, the first step is impeachment. Well, who does the impeachment? The House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment. Now, just like the grand jury places the fate of the accused in the hands of the people on that jury, the individual citizens, the fate of the accused government officer is first decided by those who are elected to represent the people of this country. The people we hire to act in our name, to be our agents, to represent us. Now, just as in a criminal case, once indicted by a grand jury or impeached by the House of Representatives, the accused is not yet considered guilty. Their case must be tried. Okay, who tries the case? The Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. So the representatives of the people indict or impeach the person. The Senate, the representative of the states, they try it. Now, in a criminal case, the cases are heard by a jury, theoretically of the accused peers. That's a whole other question. And it requires a unanimous decision. But look here. And no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. In an impeachment, yes, the case is heard by the representative of the states, and it requires 2/3 of the members to be present. Not unanimous like a criminal case. And notice, it says, of the members present. I keep hearing people saying it takes 67 senators, only if 100 senators show up. Remember, there are rules about how many senators have to be there to constitute a quorum. So there's lots of gamesmanship, parliamentary games that can be played. So it's 2/3 of the members present. Now, another major difference between a criminal case and an impeachment is the punishment allowed. See, in an impeachment, the only punishment the Senate can effect is removal from office and disqualification. Judgment in case of impeachment shall not extend farther than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. So understand, the only thing that could happen to President Trump if he is impeached and convicted is removal from office and disqualification from ever holding another office in the federal government. I've seen some memes that have some really convoluted processes where, the president gets impeached and then Vice President Pence become president, and then he pardons Trump, and then and appoints him as vice president. No. When anybody's impeached, they are disqualified from holding any office ever again. Now, lastly, there's one other unique thing when it's the impeachment of the president. Come on, where's my screen? There we go. Come on, you can do it. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside. Now, normally, it's generally the President or the President of the Senate or the President pro tem pick someone that will sit as effectively the judge, right? Because you've got a trial, you've got the prosecutor, which would come from someone in the House of Representatives. You've got the defense, which would come from someone probably in the House of Representatives. You'd probably have the Trump's lawyer would be there. And then you have to have a judge. The jury is the Senate. So the President of the Senate sits as the judge in this case. But if the case of the president, then it's the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court that actually sits as the judge in that situation. So what we see is an impeachment is the use of due process. We talk a lot about due process. The term due means what is owed. So due process is the process that gives the people involved what they're owed. It protects their rights, the rights of everyone involved. No federal official can be removed from office by impeachment unless a majority of the House of Representatives, including its leadership, finds that there is cause. There's cause to impeach this person. And then 2/3 of the Senate believe that person is guilty. That's what it takes. And while impeachment doesn't include all the punishments of all the due process protections, it also doesn't include all the punishments of a criminal case. So while there are many hallmarks of a criminal trial, impeachment is ultimately a political process, and therefore it's subject to political machinations. So is the impeachment process perfect? No, I don't believe any system that involves human beings is going to be perfect, for the simple reason of human nature. It just goads us to use a system to our own advantage. And I think we see a lot of that in what's going on today. See, even Thomas Jefferson, in a letter he wrote to Thomas Ritchie talking about the fate of federal judges, having found from experience that impeachment is an impractical thing, a mere scarecrow, they consider themselves secure for life, they skulk from responsibility to public opinion, the only remaining hold on them. See, Jefferson was concerned that the threat of impeachment would be insufficient to hold judges accountable. Let's face it, when was the last time you heard about a judge being impeached? Yet, if you read some of my material, there are certainly examples of judges behaving badly, violating their oath of office, but nobody bothers to impeach them. It's become a scarecrow. They're secure. We even talk about judges being appointed for life. The simple idea that a judge only serves during their good behavior is all but lost on most Americans. So while the concern was it would be insufficient to hold judges accountable, today we see the impeachment process, or at least its threats, being used to intimidate people. So I would take recent calls for impeachment a lot more seriously if those who were making it had not been calling for it since before the Trump administration even started. Right from the beginning, before he'd had a chance to do anything, there were talks about impeaching him. Why? Well, apparently because the wrong person won in their point of view. I heard a quote today about, they have to impeach him. They have to get him out of there otherwise he might win the 2020 election. Was impeachment designed to overturn an election? See, now to date, I have not seen any evidence that Trump has committed treason, bribery, or a high crime or misdemeanor. I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it isn't out there, but none of the accusations I've seen have actually had any evidence. Now, there have been plenty of those accusations, but no evidence. And the same could be said of Justice Kavanaugh. Multiple allegations, but no evidence. In fact, in both cases, evidence has come to light showing the allegations are not only baseless, they're fraudulent. Yet still we talk about impeachment. Now, don't get me wrong. If either of these men have committed these crimes, then they should be tried and, if found guilty, removed. But just as the boy who cried wolf got to the point where no one would believe it, it becomes harder and harder and harder to believe all the accusations every time they're found to be baseless. And remember, the impeachment process, which right now is not an official impeachment process because you don't have actual articles of impeachment being debated. What you have are committee chairs holding impeachment inquiries. But it's being done by the people that represent us. They're doing it in our name. These are the representatives of the people of the United States of America that are doing this. And if you think this is the proper process, let me ask you, what if you were on the other side? What if your candidate had won and their political opponents used the political process to remove them? Not the electoral process, political process. Damage them either directly or indirectly through calls for impeachment, through charges that have no basis. Because what happens once they've gone through the trial and it's found to be baseless? Where do they go to get their reputation back? Impeachment should be a serious process taken for serious reasons. The fact that it's not used for judges doesn't mean it should be used for political ends by or against presidents or other elected officials. I think it's important that we know and understand the impeachment process so that when people talk about things, that we can correct misunderstandings and that we can really understand better what's going on. So because Facebook kind of screwed me up, we're running a bit late, but let's take a look here. I do have a couple of questions pop up here. Must the House not take a vote first? Yes, the House, the actual process, which is not listed directly in the Constitution. Basically, some member of the House has to file what are called articles of impeachment. It's a resolution that says we think President Trump or Justice Kavanaugh should be impeached for these reasons. And just like any other piece of legislation or House resolution, it has to be voted on. Usually it goes through committee, but those are House rules. Those are not constitutional rules. Yeah, it looks like even Facebook is being, even now they're playing with my video because I've got the bit rate run so far down that people are having problems seeing. I've got a recording of this. So I'm going to take the recording and I'm going to post it later this week. So for those of you, or the one person who still hung out, I appreciate you hanging out through all this mess. There will be a much better version up later. I'll have it. It'll be out Monday. I'll make sure that it's out Monday by Monday noon. You'll be able to see a recorded version that won't have my Facebook errors in it, and will be a much better resolution. So with that said, I kind of apologize for the technical difficulties, and I'm glad for the couple people I did see pop in and out. And if you have any follow-up questions, hey, put them in the comments of the video when it gets posted on Monday. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And we should be aware of what the process is supposed to be. And we should not forget that the people that are doing this are the people who work for us. They're doing this in our name. All right, Annette, since you're here, why is Pelosi not wanting to take a vote? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Now we're getting into, I'll give you my personal opinion. I've heard a couple of positions. I think she doesn't want to take a vote for two very good reasons. One is when the Republicans impeached Bill Clinton and then he was found not guilty by the Senate, his poll numbers went up. And they don't want President Trump's poll numbers to go up. The other reason, I believe, is they would much rather have this, since they know it is politically impossible for him to actually be removed from office. They would much rather have this as a whipping post they can use to, call Trump names during the election process. If they vote and it gets tried in the Senate, it goes away. If they spend months with these committee investigations and hemming and hawing, it's in the news every day. So it becomes, again, political machinations. This is being used, I believe, either to intimidate Trump. Actually, I believe it's being used to intimidate Trump as well as to overturn an election, which to me is not how I want the American people known. But it's how the American people are being represented. And that is our fault. So it's, I think it's a bit of a sad day for the Republic. And again, like I said, if their evidence comes to light, not this, so-and-so said, so there's evidence, so let's impeach. But if there's actually, hey, so-and-so said, so let's investigate. Let's find out what's going on. Hey, you know what? There actually is evidence that there might be malfeasance. There might be something actually going on here. Then let's talk about impeachment. Then let's let's have someone actually go up and say, this is what President Trump has done. We have evidence of this. And like a grand jury, let's go to the grand jury with the evidence. Here's my case. Yes, we should impeach him. That's not how it's being done. Is it an illegitimate impeachment? I wouldn't say it's illegitimate. I would say it's an abuse of power. There's nothing that says that a committee can't investigate what they believe to be impeachable offenses. That is under the rules of the House, I believe. But what I think is illegitimate is the way it's being represented by those people and the way it's being represented in the press. This is not an impeachment process. This is, from what I understand, I'm not perfect. This is committee heads having impeachment inquiries. Now, is this a step towards impeachment? Technically, yes. But again, if your neighbor said that you committed murder and the police investigate, do they say, we're investigating an indictment? This is an indictment investigation. We're proving that you're going to indict you. No, they're investigating a crime. And that's kind of my point. See, they're not, what I don't see is an attempt to ferret out a bad actor. What I see are people using processes and terms in an attempt to overturn an election. They don't like what they want. They don't like the fact that President Trump won. And this is just the next step of, first it was the Russia probe, then it was the Ukraine thing, then it was the supposed, we had the obstruction of justice, claiming that you're innocent when you're actually innocent, apparently now in some people's minds, obstruction of justice. I mean, yes, it is an abuse of power. And I would say not just by the speaker. Actually, I think Nancy Pelosi doesn't want this going. I think this is an abuse of power by certain committee heads. I think Nancy Pelosi she's stated in the past she's not for impeachment. I think she's been maneuvered into this. I think the reason we don't have actual articles of impeachment is because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want people voting on articles of impeachment. But this, by letting the committees have these impeachment inquiries, it kind of quiets down the more radical aspects of her caucus. But those people still work for the American people. These are in the name of the American people. These people are acting out of control. I think they're acting in bad faith. Whether it's bad faith or not, I believe these people are abusing the system. And they're doing it in our name. And that's the part that I really want to keep coming back to is they're supposed to act like a grand jury. They're supposed to see evidence. They're supposed to evaluate evidence. And if there's evidence, then they impeach. What we have is we're going to impeach him. Now let's figure out a way we can make that happen. And let's make sure that it's in the news day after day after day after day. Let's use this bludgeon of an impeachment as an attempt to either overturn the 2016 election or influence the 2020 election. So what we see here is a group of people, and I'm not picking on a party for a reason, because there are a few Republicans that are involved in this, but we see as a group of people that are trying to do exactly what they accused President Trump of doing originally, and that was trying to manipulate the election process. And they work for us. And they do this in our name. So this is the American people doing this. And you know what I don't hear a lot of? I don't hear a lot of American people standing up and saying, whoa, 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 whoa. Where's your evidence? Evidence first, impeachment second. I think the squad, I think the more radical members of the Democratic caucus are applying a lot of power to Pelosi, and I think she's boxed into a corner. I mean, but that's, to me, I'm less concerned about the political aspects of it. I'm more concerned about the constitutional aspects of it and the damage this does to the republic. So let's take an example. Let's say in 2020 or 2024, we get a different president, somebody else. I don't care who it is. It could be President Mickey Mouse for all I care. And we find out that President Mickey Mouse truly has taken bribes, truly has committed treason, truly has committed crimes while in office. What good is the impeachment process? We've turned it into a sideshow. What's going to happen? The opposing party is going to complain they want an impeachment, and the president's party is going to do everything they can to stop it. That's not the purpose of impeachment. That's the purpose of elections. But this win at all cost mentality, this scorched earth mentality, is damaging the republic. It's damaging people's faith in the process. And the American people have been told, and I believe at this point believe, there's nothing they can do about it. That's absolutely wrong. If you think they are abusing the process, then we should be on the phones with our representatives saying, what in God's name are you doing? Until you have evidence, shut up about the impeachment. When you've got evidence, be my guest. When you've got real evidence, not hearsay, not someone said, not, this report's going to come out and this transcript's going to come out and it's going to show this. No, when you've got it in your hands, then come to me and say, yeah, now it's time to start talking impeachment. Then I'll believe you. Until now, you're just the boy who cried wolf. No one believes you. You've been proven a liar. I'm done. Every time I hear impeachment, I don't believe it. And that really is a sad state of affairs when the people who are supposed to be the leaders of the country, you cannot believe. That's the state that we're in. But it's the state that we're in large part because we let it happen, and it's metastasized so bad, it's going to hurt to go back. But until we start making our voices heard, until we start reminding them that they work for us, they're not going to change. because we've taught them that these types of circuses is what gets them elected. They're doing this because they think it's going to get them reelected. It thinks they're going to get them a Democratic president. It thinks they're going to get them reelected. And guess what? The Republicans are doing the same thing. They think this is going to get Trump reelected. They think it's going to get Republican senators and representatives. They don't care about the process. It's all about the next election. And they don't care about their oaths of office either. So with that, I'm going to call it a wrap, folks. A couple people popped in and out. Again, I will post the video Monday at noon. The cleaned up video with text you can read and audio you can hear, and without the Facebook dropping things out. So have a great day, and I will talk to you next time on the Constitution Study. Bye.
Every day, we're everyday Americans. Hold our own and call it home. Put it all on a little piece of land.